Yes, raising, everyone's here.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the Village Council meeting for July 18th, Thursday at 6:30. Please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Diane, please let the record show that all members of council are present and that we have the village manager on the speaker.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you hear us, Ray? Is he on mute?
Can you hear us, Ray?
We have technical difficulty. We'll be right back. Message from our sponsor.
Can you not hear us? Right. Hello?
Is it on,
Okay.
is it on
All right,
speaker?
okay, good. All right, here you go. The mayor's asking, can you hear us?
Can you hear us, Ray?
Mayor,
Okay.
yes, I can hear you. I had it on mute, that's why you weren't hearing me, but yes, I can hear.
Okay.
All right. We're going to start with reports this evening. It's the third Thursday of the month, and we had our morning meeting with the Transportation Planning Agency. And I'd just like to give you a couple updates from some highlights from the meeting. One of the things that we did today was we approved the TPA strategic plan. This is the plan that was reviewed and recommended by a special committee, or strategic plan committee, that met about 3 weeks ago to review their strategic plan that was presented and approved today. We adopted a new TPA handbook, and let me explain what this is about. As you know, for the last year or so, the TPA has been going through a transition to become independent. One of the keys to that independence, or the operations of them once they're totally independent, is this handbook which governs their operational mode, levels of authority, staffing, rules, and other procedures. One of the key significant points of this is that previously the employees working in TPA were part of the county. They were considered county employees. They will no longer be county employees once the transition is completed. They will be employees of a freestanding agency called the TPA, and all responsibilities for staffing and levels of pay and human resource policy will now fall totally on the board, the TPA board. So the county will not be involved in that any further going along. There were some discussions about a couple of points that were adjusted, but after discussion, the handbook was approved by the board. They also announced that based on, as I've been mentioning, the construction for the new office site has been on the way. They have received the permits they were looking for from West Palm Beach. We thank them for that. And the projected move-in date is now mid-October. Originally, they were looking to get in there by September, but right now it looks like it's going to be mid-October. Hopefully, they'll be able to make that date, and we'll move with that. We also adopted the TPA's list of priority projects. Now, the list of priority projects is really, really important. It's a key component of our long-range transportation plan. This is submitted or transmitted to, since it was approved, it's now transmitted to FDOT. And this is what they use at FDOT to align the funding that we're looking for and the timeline that we're looking for these priority projects. So it was very important that we had that done. We had to get it done a little earlier this year because of the timing of the legislature, but that was done. But what was interesting is usually when we do any updates to our priority list or our long-term regional transportation plan, the West Palm Beach representatives would vote in opposition, and they would oppose it because State Road 7 is part of this priority plan. Today we had not only West Palm Beach, but we had Lake Worth Beach, and we had the county commissioner, I think it's District 2, Commissioner Weiss, oppose it. I think Lake Worth Beach was because there was a project that they wanted on the list that was taken off the list, and then they decided they wouldn't support the entire plan. Not sure about Commissioner Weiss. I have to talk to him at some point about that, why he opposed the plan. Someone told me that part of West Palm Beach district, West Palm Beach is in his district, but that's not a reason not to support State Road 7. Anyway, so that's what happened there. We'll continue to monitor that as we go along. With that, I think we'll start with you tonight, Jen.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. As we prioritize public art in the village, I pulled, which Diane is passing out now, a best practices for public art projects. And this was approved and designed by Americans for the Arts and a subcommittee on Public Art Network. There are 29 best practices, and we're not going to go through them today, but I thought I'd pass that out as a nice reference point for us as going forward with public art projects. And then,
Just a quick question. Is this basically, these best practices consistent with what we put in place in terms of our new ordinance?
they are.
And this is probably something that we want to pass on to the P&Z Commission, since they're charged with
Yep.
looking oversight for this? Good, okay.
Great. And then just an announcement for those who don't know, the Senior Expo is tomorrow. Very exciting. We love this event. At the Cultural Center from 11 to 1:30, featuring vendors to talk about wellness and education and caregiver support and much more. So we'll see you there.
Great.
Cool.
Good.
Thank you.
Jeff?
Good evening. Speaking of events coming up, I'm going to talk about one that just passed, the 4th of July Star Spangled Spectacular, which it truly was. What I was hearing was that we had as many as 22,000 attendees, which is remarkable. I don't know whether it's a record or not, but it was a good crowd. It was an amazing crowd. One of my favorite things is always a salute to the branches of the armed services. They do that better and better every year, and it's a really enjoyable patriotic theme, and the patriotic music that goes along with the fireworks display is absolutely perfect. So congratulations to Parks and Rec and to the village staff in general, doing a great job on that. Of course, there's always the challenge of the exit, and when you have one way in and one way out, it's always going to be a challenge, and from year to year, we have different results. But we keep working at it, and I know that in the long run, everybody is really, really pleased with an outstanding 4th of July celebration in a great environment. So thank you again to everybody involved. Speaking of achievements, Royal Palm Beach High School just received a B rating, which is the 5th time in its history of 20 years, I think it's been in existence, that it's actually achieved a B rating. And the 3rd time under Principal Armos's leadership. So congratulations to him, to his staff, to the faculty, and of course to the students who take the test that make a determination as to what kind of a letter grade they're going to get. One of Principal Armos's favorite sayings is, we're better today than we were yesterday, and we're going to be better tomorrow than we are today.
Okay.
And I know that because he hardly ever misses a chance at an education advisory board to make that statement, but he's proven it. And one of the things he is doing is striving for that A rating, and I think that's in the future, not too far. So congratulations to them again. Speaking of the Education Advisory Board, we have a vacancy, and it's posted. So if you go on our village website, you can click on latest news. If you haven't seen our new website, it's pretty cool. The latest news will pop up a number of things, and one of them over on the far left is a public notice for EAB, or the Education Advisory Board. So if you're interested in serving on that board, you'll see that there are specific qualifications, and there's also a way to download the application. If you don't want to download the application, you can stop by and see Diane, and she'll be glad to provide you with one. And then we ask that you complete those and have them turned in by 5 o'clock on August the 7th, so that hopefully we can actually select someone to fill the vacancy by the 15th, which will be the following council meeting. So, completes my report.
Okay. Richard?
I guess just one thing semi-related to what Jeff brought up. Cypress Trails Elementary School earned an A grade again this year, which this is the first time, this fall will be the first time since 2008 I don't have a kid there. So it was good that they went out with a good A grade, and Christina's last year. And hopefully all the other schools are keeping it up.
Good. Good to know.
Good evening, everyone. Yes, I would like to thank the staff and everybody who worked on the 4th of July event. It's a tedious event, and we did have a record-breaking attendance, so thank you very much to everybody who pulled that off. And as Vice Mayor had said, we do have our Senior Expo over at the Cultural Center, so that's over there from 11 to 1:30, and there's a lot of free stuff there, too, as well, so it's a great way just to spend the afternoon and kind of peruse some of the tables there. And then we also have tomorrow, Saturday is the Park and Rec Month celebration. So that's over at Commons Park. It starts at 8 a.m. and then it'll conclude with Wolfapalooza. That's from 4 to 7, and that's over at the dog park over there. So please join us.
I'm going kayaking at 12 noon. Anyone want to join me?
I want to watch.
No, you got to go. You got to get in the water. That it?
That's it.
Okay. Stan, you got anything?
No, sir.
Ray, Stan doesn't have anything. Do you have anything?
I have no report, Mayor.
Okay. Keep.
Thank you, Mayor. In your backup, I did provide you with a memorandum on the legislative session and some of the code changes we're going to have to implement. You know, you've all heard about the tree trimming preemption. We're going to have
We have to work,
code
we'll work
update
that?
on that. We've
Okay.
already got that ordinance ready to go. The building permit fee schedules and inspection reports that have to go on the website, we have to work on that. And we may need to look at our code on that statute that preempts the vegetable garden regulation. But honestly, the big one, and I am in the middle of working on it, is your right-of-way ordinance, the telecommunication services.
Yes.
There were a lot of changes to that. I'm in the middle of that ordinance, so
Okay.
I'll also be bringing that back to you. As I said, the memo kind of touches on the relevant legislative changes that will impact our code. And if you have any specific questions, I'll be happy to talk to any of you or each of you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Good. All right, so that concludes our reports this evening. And I'm glad, I knew you all would mention July 4th. It was great. I think the 22,000 plus is certainly a record. I got a lot of feedback about some concerns of how long it took to exit. One of the observations, we were talking about this, was that the day after July 4th was a work day. So that meant as soon as the fireworks were out, people wanted to get home because they had to go to work or wherever the next day. So there was more of a scurry to get out of there quick after the fireworks. But we are well aware of some of the things that didn't go as well as they should have with the exiting plan, and that is being addressed. As you said, I'm sure it'll be better the next time around. But that was an interesting insight that, you know, the next day being a work day and how that impacts people's behavior, which makes sense when you think about it. So we'll move on with that. Okay, now if anyone here has a petition they'd like to present to the council, now would be the time. No petitions? All right, I'm closing the floor to accepting petitions. We will now take statements from the public on non-agenda items or consent agenda items, and I've got a card for each. So we have a card here for a non-agenda item from Chloe Calderon. Come on, Chloe.
Hello, my name is Chloe Calderon. I am a rising senior at Royal Palm Beach High School, and I am the former president of the Teen Coalition in Action underneath the Palm Beach County Substance Awareness Coalition. As we all know, substance use and abuse is always a really hot topic, especially concerning our youth. And with that said, I would like to present the point of purchase ordinance. It is a step forward in our goal to achieve an alcohol-free environment amongst our youth in Palm Beach County. The point of purchase ordinance requires anyone who sells alcohol to post signs in their stores stating the potential consequences and fines for selling, buying for, or giving alcohol to anyone under the legal drinking age. Along with these consequences, at the bottom of the flyer, there will be a phone number, 877-MEANS21, and or any other designated number of your choice, where witnesses may report any of these activities. There is also an option to mandate anyone who fails a compliance check to take an online course free of charge and offered by our coalition. This helps business owners retrain their staff to do the right thing and protect my friends. The signs are free and there is no charge to the city of Royal Palm Beach. Sorry. I don't know if you guys are aware, but there are 3,000 outlets in Palm Beach County for alcohol, and only 4% of them are checked yearly, none of which, to my knowledge, have been checked in the last 5 years in Royal Palm Beach.
Checked for what?
For like compliance checks.
When you, okay, compliance, that they're carding people?
Yeah.
Okay.
Currently, we do have around 84% of teenagers who reported being alcohol-free. Our survey asked them if they have had a drink in the last 30 days, and so 84% of them reported no. But that does leave around 4%, 16% of teenagers.
Okay.
I'm kind of nervous, I'm sorry.
Relax, you're doing great, you're doing great.
Roughly 16% of teenagers who reported using, that would mean roughly 500 middle and high school students in Royal Palm Beach reported using alcohol, some of which I do know at school. I've heard my fair share of stories, and they have reported getting it from stores in our area. I strongly feel as though if we focus on broadcasting the consequences of these actions, along with our community to help engage underage drinking, will face a decline in our community and around Palm Beach County. This ordinance has already been passed in quite a few areas. We have hit West Palm Beach, Boca Raton, Delray Beach, Green Acres, Palm Springs, and unincorporated Palm Beach County. Actually, 4 years ago,
Okay, complete. Finish your comments.
Finished? Okay. 4 years ago is when I first brought this ordinance about. Since then, I've been working on other areas and trying to build up our support, and I hope that you guys take it into consideration.
All right. You gonna leave that with the village clerk?
Yes.
Selena, you had a question?
I just had a quick one. Thank you very much for doing this. I know it takes a lot to do it and to come forward, so thank you. I had a question. You had said that 84% of classmates said that they had a drink in the last...
No, they did not.
They did not have a
They
drink.
did not.
Okay. And then you had mentioned that all of them reported that they were able to purchase alcohol beverages at outlets in Royal Palm Beach.
No. Some like personal stories, like some friends at school have told me that they've been able to walk in and like not get carded.
Okay.
In some like local areas. I think somebody said like Walmart or like the liquor store across from La Mancha. But those are just some stories I've heard.
Okay, and that was my question as to whether they were purchased by those over 21, but then given to minors. So that was my question as to whether it was the minors actually going in, those under 21 were actually going in and purchasing versus somebody over 21 purchasing and giving it to somebody under. Okay, thanks.
I just want to be clear. Now, you're proposing a sign be placed in these places where business is transacted?
Yes.
And the sign is to say clearly you have to be 21 or?
The signs state the different consequences and fines that they can face for
Now,
buying.
so you're asking the village to pass an ordinance that will require those businesses that were within the village limits to have to post a sign?
Yes.
Is that what you're basically asking? Okay. Like I said, turn over that information to the village clerk, and the village manager and staff will take a look at this, talk with our attorney, and I don't know, we'll see where we come out on that, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. You have a question? Go ahead.
I just had, is
I'm sorry.
the ordinance based just at the retailers selling, or does it also have the consequences for the buyers?
Yeah.
Because they're two different things, so,
Yeah, it has all
both
of
of
those
them.
consequences.
Okay.
And
And
a
it-
reporting number for any witnesses who see that activity or think they see it.
and it would incorporate anyone who sells alcoholic beverages, so you're talking about every Publix and CVS and anywhere that sells alcohol. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we have a comment card for consent agenda item number 2, former Councilman David Swift.
Actually, Mayor, I have a comment card for both items not on tonight's agenda. Are we still there? items on not on.
I know, but you have
I
something?
have both, I have both.
Do your
I'll do
non-agenda
both.
item
I'll
first
do
then.
both.
Okay.
First of all, items are not tonight on tonight's agenda. I guess I'm questioning, I'm trying to figure out how Lennar got this gigantic sign outside their development. I mean, in terms of square feet, it appears almost as large as the village's Okeechobee entrance sign to the village, only there's two of them. Is that permanent sign? That I can't imagine that was recommended by our planning and zoning people, because forever they've always tried to keep them, you know, within. But these are two giant signs. I mean, where'd they come from? That's my question.
Ray, did you hear the question?
Something about signs on the high school?
No, signs at Bella Serra, the Lennar development.
The signs that they're building on Bella Terra were approved by council, and they're building them in accordance to the approved plans.
Are these temporary signs until they sell out?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand that. What?
Are they temporary signs?
Is he talking about the entranceway signs or other signs?
Well, I don't know if they're temporary or not. That's the reason.
No, you're talking about-
the huge ones outside. They look permanent to me.
To the entranceway? All right, come on, Bradford's here, he'll give us an update. Okay.
Yeah, ask Bradford.
Thanks, Ray.
No, these are the subdivision entrance signs.
Okay.
And they have been through council.
And
they
we did
were, and
approve
they were approved, yes, that's correct.
How long ago were they approved?
I know they were
Years
approved.
ago.
I'm asking
Well,
the
no.
question.
No.
Staff didn't approve them, correct?
They went through council.
Council approved them.
I didn't ask you that question. It did.
We
staff-
recommended, the staff recommendation was for approval, that's correct.
Even though they didn't meet the village code.
They met the village code as far as subdivision entrance signs.
So they did meet the code.
Size-wise?
Yes,
Size-wise?
that's correct. If they didn't, then they would have needed a variance.
Well, we're talking about Saratoga, the new place.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm trying to get at, Jeff Samaria came in here 15 years ago and tried to put a 5-foot by 4-foot sign on the median of the highway, and he got all kinds of static for putting that little sign. Now we have this one that is bigger than our village signs. I don't get it.
Well, the sign ordinance changed since then, right? Pretty recently.
Let me give you another example. Look at Port of Sal's signage. A lot of these signs, they do contain architectural features
Right.
as part of them.
You're going to hear some more about it from the folks, for example, in Saratoga, trying to get their sign reapproved, and it's this little tiny sign.
Well,
You'll hear from. I'm just telling you.
if
you're gonna hear-
Saratoga wants to have their sign updated, have them bring it forward. We'll certainly take a look at it.
All right.
Jeff?
That's fine. It's in compliance with our code, right? So if there's a question about that, then looking at the code and taking measurements is one way to go at this thing. There wasn't any variance, so there wasn't any special consideration or anything like that. The architectural feature may make it an apple in comparison with oranges. So I'm not exactly sure that the assertion here that something inappropriate is
it's an apple
taking
compared
place. So
to a giant tank. I mean, that's my point. It's huge. I just don't understand it.
Thank
I mean, let me put it this way. Saratoga Lakes, your development all have these nice little signs about that big, and this one is big as that wall. And there's two of them. I don't get it. I'm trying to understand why you would approve something like that. Well, I'm just saying, you'll hear more. Okay, I have some other issues I'd like to talk about. In your proposed budget, Tuesday night kind of threw me. I didn't realize that was the night, and I missed it. Anyways, I'd like to ask Councilwoman Simonis this question. I suppose this came out of the annual strategic plan. You have calls for spending $100,000 for the design and engineering of a planned traffic connection between Madrid Street and State Road 7. My question is, what point in this process did the council plan to inform La Mancha residents what is this project about and what is its time frame for completion? This is simply a traffic study with different modeling assumptions, results, recommendations, or is there something more specific? And when will we hear the details? I guess most importantly, I think you did a real good job on Sandpiper, and what I would hope that you would do is let the La Mancha residents, if there's something going to be implemented there, that they have a chance to vote on that, whether or not they want that project implemented within their community. Another issue I had, you had a $200,000 project for a sandy shoreline at Commons Park. I don't know if you're thinking about swimming there, but if you do, you need to check with the county health department. They have real problems with that. And finally, you're looking for $6 million for a new village hall. That is clearly a legitimate need. You have people from the building and permitting, code enforcement, engineering, planning and zoning, finance, computer technology departments who really have been living on top of each other for almost 20 years. Mm-hmm. It's really time for a new big. I don't know if $6 million is the right number or not, but the question I have we looked across the street at the vacant building across the street? Does that make any sense at all? So.
Nope.
We looked at it, and it doesn't make any sense.
Okay.
Actually, we looked at it as temporary quarters, but we came up with a new approach. But let me go back to the question you raised about the La Mancha exit.
Right.
Do you want?
There's no project. Nothing's happening. All we're doing right now, as we always do, we're doing an analysis. We're doing a new study. At our planning session, we got a lot of new members on the council who weren't around when we made that decision many years ago. And the question really centered on, well, does it make sense to at least look at it from the context of providing exit only, all right? So not to open it up as an entranceway, because if you remember, there was a lot of discussion about how during rush hour, one way out of the village, it would enable that. So we're doing an analysis here of what that traffic impact potential would be. And once we get that done, we'll take a look at that. And before we move forward doing anything, we will have this vetted and ample opportunity for public comment and input if we in fact think that that's something that we should go forward with based on what the results are. It may not go anywhere once we get the analysis back and we look at what the impacts may be. It may be, well, that's not a good idea to do. But we could be surprised, right? Like I said, we need to look at the time of day, when the impacts are, and that sort of thing. But this is an analysis for exit only, if anything happens.
And if you give me, at some point when you know when the schedule is, let me know, please. Thank you.
If we move forward wanting to do anything, we will absolutely have more than ample public input to make sure that we're getting clear feedback from the constituents who live in the area if this is something that would be proposed to go forward. But we're nowhere near that now. We're doing the analysis right now. Okay?
So, and I'd like to take the opportunity
Go ahead.
Mayor?
Go ahead.
Mayor, we're proposing to have that study complete and presented to council in April 2020.
April 2020.
Okay. I'm sorry, Sina,
And
go
no,
ahead.
that's okay. And just since you addressed the question towards me, then, Mr. Swift, that's one of the things that I did ask about it. And because the county did the study, I believe it was in 2012 that they did it, and they estimated what they thought the trips were going to be. So this one would have been more of an independent study versus the county doing it. And yes, we would notify all the local residents, and I'll make sure that I let you know when it is, as well as everybody else. So thank you.
Didn't we do our own study in 2012?
No, George Webb did it.
Oh, it was 2012 though. I'm going.
Ray knows.
We made this decision before then.
2009.
Yeah. All right. That's what I'm talking. Okay. All right. Go ahead.
And I'd just like to respond to the beach comment. You're not the only one there, and that was only the beginning of the budget process. And as you know, a lot of things that are initially proposed in the budget process don't make their way all the way through the budget process. So,
Doggy Beach.
I'm not in favor of that either. But that's
The beach project.
anything that's going to bring people or humans closer to the waterways where alligators and wildlife live in Florida, I do not think is a good idea. But that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, no, the fact of the matter is that the issue of the whole water and if you have people, what that entails is being reviewed. And it is part of the analysis process on what we're going to do there. putting a beach there doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to be telling people to go into the water. So I wouldn't make that assumption at this point, because you're right, there are a lot of other issues that need to be looked at. Okay? All right, I have no other comment cards on non-agenda items or items on the consent agenda, but if anyone here would like to comment now, would be the time. Seeing none, I'm going to close public comment to non-agenda items and to consent agenda items and ask Diane to give us the consent agenda.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Number 1, approval of the minutes of the council regular meeting of June 20th, 2019.
Yes, 2.
2, tentative adoption of the proposed millage rate of 1.9200, and approval of scheduled public hearings on September 5th, 2019 at 6:30 p.m. and September 19th, 2019 at 6:30 p.m. in the Village Meeting Hall. 3, approval and authorization for the mayor to sign the First Amendment to co-location agreement between the Village of Royal Palm Beach and T-Mobile South LLC regarding the cell tower site at 1050 Royal Palm Beach Boulevard. 4, approval and authorization for the village manager to enter into an agreement with A. Thomas Construction Incorporated, the lowest responsible bidder, in an amount of $30,000 for the painting of the Recreation Center Gymnasium. This project, PR 1915, is budgeted in account number 303-7210-572-4610. 5, approval of a special event permit application for the Village of Royal Palm Beach to hold Parks and Recreation Month on July 20th, 2019 at Royal Palm Beach Commons Park. And 6, approval of a special event permit application for the Village of Royal Palm Beach to hold a haunted house on October 25th, 2019 through October 30th, 2019 at Royal Palm Beach Commons.
Okay, thanks, Diane. If there are no comments from members on council,
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We have no opposed. Diane, please let the record show that the consent agenda was approved 5-0. Okay, our regular agenda item, agenda item R1, is a public hearing to consider variance application number 18-120. An application by CenterPoint Integrated Solutions, LLC, is requesting a sign variance from section 20-6 sub 2 to allow for a 17 feet 4 inch wide by 10 foot high sign, which equals 173 square feet, in an area where village code allows a maximum monument sign size no more than 8 feet in width and 7 feet in height and 42 square feet in area. A sign variance from section 20-60 sub 2 to allow for 21 and 5/16 inch letters on the monument sign, where village code allows a maximum letter height no more than 15 inches. A sign variance from section code 20-16 sub 4F to allow for a 3 foot 2 inch wide by 4 foot high directional sign, where village code allows a maximum directional sign that is 2 feet high and 2 square feet in area, and a sign variance from section 20-60 sub 4F to allow a maximum monument height of 8 feet for directional signage on the sales display lot, where village code allows a maximum height of 2 feet for a 13.47, approximately 47 acre property located at 10501 Southern Boulevard. I hope you can explain this, Robert.
You kind of ran through everything.
Well,
Okay, and without repeating, did you need?
it sounds like there are 3 variance requests here. Go ahead.
Yeah, actually, this is a.
This is a quasi-judicial, you're right.
Yes, sir. Actually, we have agenda items 1 through 6 are all quasi-judicial, so do you prefer me to swear in as we go, or swear in?
Swear them in for this one. The other one is a separate applicant, right?
Yes,
Right.
sir.
So let's do this applicant only.
All right, then if, this is a quasi-judicial proceeding, if you will be speaking and offering testimony to the village council on this matter, you need to be placed under oath. So if you will be offering testimony, if you could please stand and raise your right hand, I'll swear you in. Thank you. Do each of you swear or affirm under penalties of perjury that your testimony to the village council will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. You can have a seat, and then back to the council. If any of you have had any ex parte discussions regarding this matter, those would need to be disclosed for the record at this time.
Met with the representative.
I did too.
Same representative, the lawyer for the applicant.
Applicant.
I did not.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Then we can proceed with this item.
As you can see here on this slide, this is the site for this. That would be it's part of this this project. It's on the northeast corner of 105th Avenue, North and Southern Boulevard, just west of Village Shops on 441. This slide illustrates the location of the different signs that are subject of the sign variance request. The location there, A, is the location of the monument-style sign along Southern Boulevard, and B is the location of the direction sign, and C is the general location for the directional signs mounted 8 feet off the ground. This first sign I would like to talk about is the monument-style sign situated along Southern Boulevard. The applicant is requesting a variance to allow for a 17-foot 4-inch wide by 10-foot high sign for a total of 173 square feet in area, where village code allows a maximum monument sign of 8 feet in height and 8 feet in width and 7 feet in height for a maximum square footage of 42 square feet in area. In addition to the size increase of the overall sign, the applicant is also requesting a variance from village code to allow for 21 and 5/16 inch letters on the monument sign, where village code allows a maximum height no more than 15 inches. The next sign I would like to talk about is the directional sign located in the interior to the site. The applicant is requesting a variance to allow for a 3-foot 2-inch wide by 4-foot high directional sign, where village code allows a maximum directional sign of 2 square feet in area. The final variance request is to allow for a mounting height of 8 feet for a directional sign in the sales display lot. Village Code Section 2632F7 allows Village Council to grant variances to the zoning code when special conditions and circumstances exist which are not applicable to other lands. Special conditions do not result from the actions of the applicant, will not confer on the applicant special privileges that are denied to other lands. Literal interpretation of the code would deprive the applicant of the rights enjoyed by other lands, and the minimum variance that will make possible the reasonable use of the property. With harmony and intent of the purpose of this code will not be injurious to the area involved or otherwise be detrimental to the public welfare. The applicant contends that a larger monument sign and letter height are necessary to the property being set back approximately 92 feet from the closest point of the adjacent Southern Boulevard right-of-way. The property is set back 92 feet. The applicant asserts that the other similar automotive dealerships located within the village of Royal Palm Beach and along Southern Boulevard corridor also have larger signs that permit the village, or that which were not permitted by village code and received variances. Regarding the variance for the directional signs, the applicant contends that the larger size for the directional signs at the entryways to the property are necessary in order for automobile delivery trucks to be able to clearly see and read the signs, directing them to the proper entrance to utilize when picking up or delivering vehicles to the site. The applicant is also seeking variance to allow for the directional signs mounted at a height of 8 feet. These particular directional signs are designed to identify the locations where specific inventory is stored. And it is the assertion of the applicant that the signs need to be 8 feet in height so that both customers and employees can see the signs above the cars to make it easier to direct customers to the inventory in which they are interested. Staff generally agrees with the applicant's justification for the directional signs mounted at 8 feet and therefore is recommending approval of that variance. However, staff is recommending denial of the other 3 variance requests. Staff feels as though the criteria for granting the variance requests have not been met. The Planning and Zoning Commission considered this application at their June 25th meeting and recommended denial by a vote of 3-2. And staff is recommending denial of those portions of the larger directional sign and the monument style sign, and approval of the directional signs mounted at 8 feet And with that being said, I'll turn the floor back over to you, Mayor. Thank you.
Just so we're clear, in looking at the diagram, so staff is, can you put that back up? The diagram? So staff is recommending approval of the C signs?
Yes, sir.
Okay, but not A and B and the
Just
sign
A
of the
and B.
letters? The
Yeah,
letter.
right, that's correct.
Okay. Do we take 3 separate votes on this, or is it, how do we do that?
You can do it either way. If the maker of the motion is going to,
It could include it all in one motion,
you could.
or you can make separate motions.
If, my suggestion would be if the maker of the motion is going to move to approve something and deny others, you might want to do that in
2
separate
separate.
motions.
That's what I meant. Okay. I just want to be clear on that. All right. Would the applicant like to comment now? Okay.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Bonnie Miskell, I'm here on behalf of Carmack. Thank you very much for allowing us to present today. So we are here to talk about signage and sign variances. There are 2 principal purposes for signage. One is informational identification. The other is sales and marketing. Obviously, businesses like to have the biggest signs they can have, but there is also a safety component to a sign. Signs are intended to give a motorist reasonable notice of the location of a business in such a manner that their movements, the vehicular movements, will be safe and rational. And we can all say that happens very rarely in South Florida. But there are standards that the industry follows in order to have signs that meet that part of it, which is safety. All right. Now, if I want to go forward on this one, it's just right here. Oh, just the down button. Thank you very much. Sorry. Technology is not always my friend. We also have given you a handout if you want to look at it up close and personal, but for the audience, they can see the request a little bit more specific. Brad went over the requests that we're asking for this evening. There are 4. The first relates to the monument sign, which is shown as A on that graphic. The monument sign the proposal is for a sign that is 17 feet 4 inches wide, 10 feet high, with 173 square feet of area within the entire plate of the sign. The next request is for letter sizes at 21 inches and 5/16 of an inch versus the 15-inch requirement. The third is requesting a 3-foot 2-inch wide by 4-foot high directional sign, which contains sales, service, and some of the other specific components to the dealership. And the last is for row markers to identify the rows on light poles. Those signs are actually 1 by 1. They're very small, but they're up at 8 feet, a reasonable height in order for the markers to be seen. Okay. So this is a plan that, again, shows you which are which. The A is the monument sign, which is 2 variance requests. B is the directional sign that is for the sign that identifies sales and service. And C are the row markers. The safety part, the signage industry considers the appropriate size of letters and signs based on a number of factors. One is the speed of the roadway that is contiguous to where the sign will be located. The other is the distance of the sign from the roadway. Obviously, the further you get from a roadway, the smaller any object looks, whether it's a building or a sign. If I'm standing 5 feet from the right-of-way, I'm going to look pretty much like my size. If I'm 100 feet from the right-of-way, I'm going to look about half the size of what I really am. It's just what happens as far as visual perspective. So when the industry considers whether a sign is safe, those are some of the factors that they consider. They plug in a formula and it spits out a number. And we'll get into that a little bit more later. This is the monument sign. And the way that you're evaluating the square footage of the sign, and it is a little atypical, but you look at the entire sign face all the way from grade, which is where the base sits, right up to the top of the sign, and that's the total square footage. Other cities consider they square off the actual letters, the commercial content of the sign, they square that off, and that's how they measure the volume. Height is obvious. The height of the sign is 10, and it goes all the way down to the finished grade, and the width is 17 and 4 inches. So this is a perspective, and this is one of the perspectives that they look at on a particular roadway, traveling westbound at the speeds that are posted for this roadway, which is a major arterial. So it is one of the faster rights of way within the village. This is at a point approaching 105th Avenue, and that's what the sign would look like to a passenger in the car. It's not obviously huge. It's a reasonable size, a size of which someone could see it with sufficient time to make the turn to go into 105th to get to that particular property. The goal is to preclude people from traveling across 3 lanes with about 3 seconds to make a turn, creating an unsafe condition. That's the goal.
But how would that prevent them from doing that?
Well, and you can't prevent someone from doing irrational behavior, but
Yeah.
if you give someone sufficient notice, then they'll be able to see where they want to go with enough time to make that turn, and the movement will be safer. That's as far as the industry is concerned.
Right,
If you can see where you're going, you're more likely to approach that location in a...
But the 3-lane crossover you're suggesting is the traffic coming over the flyover?
Well, there you come over the flyover, but this is actually after you get over the flyover, this point that we're looking at it. That's what the sign would look to a driver after they've made it over the flyover, but with sufficient time to make a right turn to get onto 105th. That's what the sign looks like. Now, this one is a code compliant sign. You can't see it. It's not visible enough for any driver, even if they had the best eyesight on earth. It's just not large enough for them to see it before you need to make the turn. And these are the conditions that highway safety, when they look at signage, are trying to avoid. They're trying to avoid a sign that somebody will see at the last minute and will be compelled to make irrational decisions. And it happens all the time, unfortunately. So when you look at and you look through your criteria, one is that you have special and unique conditions. The conditions that, and maybe I can get back there. So it is not common in your village, or for that matter in most cities in Palm Beach County, for there to be about 100 feet of open space before you get to the monument sign. 95% of the time, you're going to have a sign that is 10 feet off the right-of-way so that the driver can see it more readily. In this instance, we have no opportunity to put our sign 10 feet from the right-of-way. This is an easement for DOT, and no signs are allowed on that easement. Therefore, the sign has to be
Further back.
much further back. And in this instance, and we compared it with the other signs that are out there just to give you a basis, and I'll come back to that in just a few minutes. But that's the problem. That's the unique and special condition that fortunately for all of the businesses in Royal Palm Beach, they don't have to deal with this. They can move their sign up 10 feet from the right-of-way, giving motorists a better opportunity to see a sign and make good decisions, good driving decisions. So is this something, are we asking to be conferred a privilege that someone else hasn't? We don't think so. In fact, we looked at each of the other car dealerships and their signage and how they obtained their signage, because none of them meet your code today. And the one that we are most closely, and I'm not saying that disrespectfully.
No, I'm not taking it that way.
I think they had a good reason too.
Okay.
The one that we are most closely like, that we are most similar to, are the dealerships on the east side of State Road 7. And that's Nissan, Toyota, and Mazda. They have nearly an identical condition to what I just showed you. They also have dry retention. They cannot put their signs 10 feet from the right-of-way. They had to set them back much further from the right-of-way. The one I think that we're closest to is the Nissan as far as the distance. Our distances are just about identical their sign has to be as far back. Now, these are their signs. This is what they applied for approval and obtained variances for. And then, you know, I know this is a different time, but then the council felt that it was a special and unique condition being that far back. Also, it made sense from a safety perspective. It was one owner at the time, United Auto Group. They applied for and made each of the signs consistent with different logos on those signs. They are 10 feet wide by 30 feet high. We're not asking for 30 feet high, we're asking for 10 feet high. We believe, based on highway standards, that is a reasonable size, that is the minimum size that we need in order for a prudent motorist to be able to see it and make good driving decisions. But this is their plan that they had submitted. Here is a depiction of the Mazda sign, which is the one in the middle. The Nissan is to the west, the Toyota is to the east. Now, this swath of retention area actually gets larger as you go east, but the most narrow area is about the same distance as what ours would be. It's about 121 feet from the back of sidewalk. We measured each of these signs from the back of the sidewalk. We measured our sign from the back of what would be the sidewalk. This is just giving you an idea of how large that is. And this was at the smallest point. The sign east of this viewpoint is actually the Mazda sign, and you can't really see it from here, primarily because of the Royal Palms. The next dealership sign is actually west of us. They don't have the same condition, although they did get a variance. They are 10 feet from the right-of-way. That sign is 9 feet high. We're asking for 10 feet. And that sign is about 14 feet wide. Ours would be a little over 17 feet wide. But they are 10 feet from the right-of-way. Whether they needed that much, I'm not going to opine to, but we are very compatible with that. And we are, by the way, 10 times the distance from the right-of-way that this sign is. So our 10-foot sign will look smaller from the street than that sign does from the street, just because of that distance. This is just a drawing that shows you the dimensions, and I also have that for you there. So we did a little comparison for you, a little chart that kind of compares us to them to show you that we're not being conferred special privileges. You're not going to do something special for us that hasn't been done for others that are like candidates. And again, most of your properties in the Village of Palm Beach don't have this problem. These particular, well, at least 4 properties out of the 5 that are on this list have the special unique condition of about 100 feet of easement retention area that is off limits to signs. So it's summarizing what I just stated. Ours is 10 by 17. We're at 121 plus. The Nissan is 122 plus. That's 30 feet high by 10 feet wide. The same is the case for the Mazda and the Toyota, although they are further distances, as shown here. And then the Ford sign is 10 feet from the back of the sidewalk, and that's 9 by 14. Variance 2 relates to letter size. The other thing that the highway industry looks at in promoting, and in fact encouraging sign code changes, is letter size and colors that are within letters. You will find some national companies that pick their logo and they stick with those colors for signage, and it makes no sense at all because they're colors you can't see at night, you know, dark greens and such colors. CarMax is not the case. Their colors are very distinct, they're simple, they're clear, they're about as succinct as most signs that you see in the industry. We're only asking for a very small amount difference. The requirement in the code is 15 inches. Ours is 21 5/16, I think. So it's not significant, but letter size is very, very important. It's almost more important than the height of a sign, because the eye has a tendency of fixating on the smaller versus the bigger, surprisingly enough, when it comes to a lit sign. This is another perspective. This is actually the intersection of 105th and Southern, excuse me. So this is a passenger that would be, and actually it's funny how these cars are all going one way. Forget that, that is not the case. But this is actually a perspective of the driver that would be going eastbound. You know, this is a sign pursuant to our request, what they would see as they were approaching the intersection. It's not a large sign. The next one is what they would see if it was. Oh,
Just to
you want me go
clarify,
back?
this is if I'm heading east and I want to make a left turn.
Right.
Okay.
That's what you would see as you're approaching. And these are done to scale, actually. And then the next one is the sign, if we were required to be limited to the size that is in your code. That's a code compliance sign. And I can't see it, but I don't have my glasses on, so we'll put those on. This is on 105th. You know, there's not a lot of traffic on 105th. And so clearly we don't have a problem here, but this is the perspective from 105th, just to round it off so that you could see it from each of the rights of way. And that's the code compliant. Our third request relates to directional. The directional signage here are for the specific components of a dealership. Every dealership has this. We have it as well. We are actually less than our competitors. Our proposal is, and I have to get it in front of me because I can't even read it off of there. But the other dealerships, the Mazda, the Nissan, the Toyota, they're at between 4 by 5 feet or 4 by 4 feet 4 inches. And we're less than that. And again, this is once you get on the site anyway. Part of the problem is that your code requires us to count the space underneath. And if you're driving, a directional sign isn't very helpful to you if it's beneath the hood of your car. You can't see it as you're pulling in. So we've counted all the space underneath our signage plus up to the top of our signage. So it really isn't a large sign, but it has to be high enough to be seen from someone sitting within a car. And again, this is less than the competitors.
So you're saying here what you're really looking for is the elevation of the sign.
That's exactly right, because if we brought it back down, it would be beneath the hood of a car, but it would be a smaller sign.
Sure, okay.
And this one is kind of interesting. And this is the one that staff is in support of. These are actually being located on light poles. And the reason for that is, you know, cost, but also to minimize the amount of metal that is sitting on a piece of property. These are elevated 8 feet up in the air, but they're only a 1 by 1 square foot sign. So they're very small signs. The request makes it sound like we're asking for a lot larger sign, but just the way you measured it, we're counting the space to get up to that 8 feet. So I just wanted to clarify that, but staff is supportive of that. And this automobile dealership is very, and I know you know who they are and what they do, but I'll just, for the benefit of the crowd, they're different than your traditional dealership. We have a lot of buyers coming in who have already been online and who have purchased their car. They purchase the car's being held, they come in, they do the paperwork. They know exactly where the car is sitting on the lot. It's sitting in section A27. And so when they go to do it and they pull it up on the computer, the salespeople take care of them, and then they lead them right out to that spot. This helps them know where to go, because unlike the other dealerships, there's a lot of inventory that's outside, and if particularly an elderly customer comes in and they're looking for their car, they could be there for 10 hours by the time they go back and forth every row. So I think that's part of the reason why Brad may have supported it, and it's a very good customer service thing to do in this instance.
Can I ask you a question? Since
Yes.
you mentioned that the customer, in your dealership, people can't just walk in and just go out and...
Oh, no, they
have to
can.
come in through the main entrance, right? And someone will work with them?
Yes, that is true. They don't have to
They can't
go
just go out there and hang around?
Well, they can go
cars.
into the dealership and they can do what the traditional car dealerships does and walk around and look at what they see out there. But that's not the traditional buyer here. The buyer here has gone online, they found the car that they feel meets their needs both financially and otherwise, and they're coming in for that specific purpose. But they're not precluded from coming in and saying, hey, you know, I wanted to trade in this car, maybe I'll buy a new one, and they'll look at the inventory.
Sure.
But they're more
Okay.
likely to do that inside on a computer.
But they have to come into your main
Yes,
area.
that's right.
Okay.
Yeah, they cannot bring their vehicles in
That's what I was
the
getting at,
inventory
right.
side. That is
Okay.
the case.
All right.
For a lot of reasons, safety, security, et cetera. And then, so this is, the C is noting the column request. So that's the column signage that we just discussed. So as I had mentioned before, you know, your code requires pretty much the same standards that every other city does. The conditions have to be unique to this property. They are not conditions that are generally applicable to all properties in Royal Palm. Fortunately for all of your businesses, we are in a unique situation here. It is not typical to have a, you know, nearly 100-foot retention area running along your entire frontage. So it is unique, and it has been found to be unique in the past. It does not result from my clients' actions. They didn't create it, they didn't sell it, they didn't make any money off of it, they just have to live with it. It was there before. The granting doesn't give us a special privilege. In fact, everyone else that has been similarly situated has been granted that privilege. We're asking for less than what they asked for, but what we feel is the minimum. That the literal interpretation would deprive us of rights commonly enjoyed by others. That's why I talk to you a lot about what others have. We believe that we're actually asking for less than they have, but we believe that it will be adequate to serve the dual purpose, most importantly, the safety part of it. And then we believe that is in harmony. That is why you allow a variance section in your code. Unfortunately, no property is equal to any other property. I've never seen two identical pieces of property. Somehow they're different. And this one is much more different than the standard that you would find typically on Southern or State Road 7. And then lastly, this is not injurious to anyone else. It's set more than 100 feet off the right-of-way. We're very compatible. We're less than what others have asked for. We're comparable to the Ford right next door. And we really believe that we have tried to minimize our request. You know, should we have gone with our traditional sign, I'd be asking for a lot more square footage here because that's just what retailers do. But we really did scale it down to what we believed was a safe minimum that the owner or the business owner could live with. So in any event, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. I'm joined by one of the representatives for CarMax, who's a technical expert here, more so than me. We're here for your questions.
I guess one general question is, how far along are you in the process? Have you acquired the property?
Yeah, the property was purchased last fall, and we're looking to get our building permits issued within the next month or so.
Parker, you want to give them your full name?
Yeah, my name is Parker Lang. I'm with Centerpoint, the applicant.
Okay, so you're pretty far downstream.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. You've concluded your presentation?
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you so much.
I do not have any comment cards on agenda item R1, but if anyone here would like to comment, now would be the time. All right, seeing none, I'm closing public comment on agenda item R1 and opening up for comments from members on council. So, I don't see any lights. Richard.
I just have a question. I'm in agreement with most of the variance requests, specifically B and C. It was just the monument sign, and I do believe there's a condition with it being so far away from the roadway. Let's see what was done to the further east, which, in my opinion, looks a little tall. I was wondering if there would be a consideration of possibly, not having the sign so low and perhaps raising it up somehow, and maybe not making it as big, but somewhere maybe a little bit bigger than what the Ford sign is, but not all the way. What's been requested, somewhere between, above the code and what the Ford dealership has. But to me, from the pictures you saw and driving that road every day, it'll be, kind of difficult. And I think if it's not elevated a little bit, I don't think even what you're proposing now is going to be seen too well.
Well, we always would want more, but that would have to be re-advertised. So there are actually 3 different types of monument signs that CarMax has constructed, and we frankly have flexibility. We don't have a lot of flexibility in the letter size, just because we
Yeah, I
feel
wasn't
that that's
concerned about
yeah.
the leather size for the
But
people.
what we could do, and one of them is a sign that actually is open under the letters, that is on 2 poles on a base. The base is surrounded by vegetation, which can grow up if you have that open space, and really only about 5 feet from the top down is wall, and the rest is open on the poles. That's one type of sign that they have designed that we're happy to do, which means that we go from about 173 square feet down to about 75. Is that correct?
Yeah.
In an area. So you're really removing a lot of the mass and allowing the greenery that's under it to get the benefit of that.
What's the elevation level?
It would
for that?
stay at 10 feet. And so from 10 to the 5 level, you'd have the signage, and then it would be open beneath that, and it would be on a base. So you're removing a lot of volume. There's another option, too, that I'd like to give you that you might like as well. We have a T sign that has about the same top, but then it comes into about 8 feet, which is actually less than what the Ford has next door. And then it's on a smaller base at the bottom. Again, it's also surrounded by landscaping and greenery at the bottom. That's another option that we could do, and you would lose a lot of the concrete mass in that one as well. So,
Maybe I misunderstood, Richard. I thought your concern was from a safety standpoint, you thought it'd be better if the sign was higher
I would
up.
like to see the sign
Higher up. Right.
and that's why I didn't have an issue with the lettering on it.
Right.
I think that would be good for people to have it more visible. But maybe Bradford can help me out here.
Well, and does that count as part of?
It does. The second instance, or the second, the T,
That sounds better.
would be a different square footage. It would be taller, is what it's
well,
telling me.
no, we're actually satisfied
same
with the
height.
10 feet. It would just be, instead of being sitting on a 17-foot wide base, it would be on an 8.
footage because you're just drawing a box around the entire
You
thing.
can reduce.
Yeah, reducing the width,
Yeah, but
You can, the council could not grant a variance greater than what was advertised. A lesser variance than what was advertised would be permissible.
In other words, we can't say to them, make the sign bigger?
You couldn't say make it taller than the 10 feet that was requested.
Okay, that's,
okay.
You can't go higher without
So-
the applicant re-advertising and
so
coming
the
back.
elevation question is a moot point, you're saying.
If you felt it was appropriate to grant it, on the square footage question, a variance less than what was requested, but still more than what the code requires, that would be permissible because the request that's been advertised is for 173 square feet. So if the council felt that a lesser variance was appropriate, that would be permissible.
Well, but would it be a lesser variance if we said lower square feet but higher height? Because it is lesser in square feet.
But they're two separate code sections that are being varied, I believe. So.
The way that this was advertised, or knowing our legal teams, the way that they advertise things, there was a height and a width and an overall square footage. So to reduce the width and increase the height, but still stay at the same square footage, you're exceeding the height that was put in the advertisement. So, but what they were suggesting is to get rid of option 1, the middle part, right? And so you would have 2 columns and then the commercial copy of the CarMax. Now, the way that we determine square footage is we basically draw a box around the components of the sign. And so that wouldn't increase the square footage, all you're doing is making, the first one is essentially making a view window or view corridor through the sign. And so the entire massing of the sign, the overall blue square footage that you see towards the bottom of the sign is gone.
But if we're not increasing the height, which is, from my view, this is all about safety.
Right.
Then what's the point? Why not just leave it what they're asking for?
That's
Okay.
if you do increase the height, then it will need to come back to
But he said we can't increase the height unless it's re-advertised.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It would have to come back to you.
Jeff?
Okay, so to your question, one thing you'd be doing is reducing the very big blank blue wall, which from an aesthetic point of view is stunning. Now that might be a positive thing in some people's minds, in other people's minds, and reducing the impact from a visual impact point of view by reducing the amount of big blank blue wall, which is, I think, what the option was proposing to do. It is kind of unfortunate that we're stuck with the height, because the height is very, very appealing, because it would make it more visible, but I understand that, so that's off the table. But reducing that amount of big blue wall might, add to a more positive, less offensive kind of a visual impact. So I like the idea.
So you're saying
It would also allow some of the landscaping that's around it, I think, to have a little bit more sunshine to grow. So it could fill in with landscaping, which is always more appealing.
Because as it is right now, it's a pretty stark thing. It's just a big wall. It looks like there ought to be something else with it, kind of a thing. So just from an aesthetic point of view,
it would be more aesthetic, aesthetically pleasing.
Yes.
Okay.
User-friendly.
But conversely, how does that change the presentation from the roadway when part of that blue background, which makes the yellow pop, how does that change that for the driver?
There would still be plenty of blue background that it would sit on. And in fact, that sign is a sign that we have used in other locations, and it's a very good sign. It's worked. So that's why we are comfortable with it. The client was comfortable with it, and they're confident that it would have the same level of visibility. And again, they would have wanted a taller sign, but they've run these numbers, and these numbers are acceptable from a industry standpoint. So we feel that we're still promoting a safe option.
It's interesting.
I'm trying to give you guys all the options, and I deal with these types of aesthetic things quite often. If you look at the base of this CarMax, you'll notice that there is a stone veneer. Maybe so that they don't have to completely redesign this sign, maybe bring that stone veneer
higher.
And that actually may look better than the view through the sign on the two poles.
That's a good point.
And with the lighter stone cap on top of the
stone veneer is more aesthetic than the big blue.
With the little landscaping around it.
Yeah, I think it'd look nice.
Good. Selena?
I'll tell you, and thank you very much. It was a very compelling presentation. I think my concern is that if this is approved, then it comes into tomorrow, who's coming in here saying, now we want a bigger one, and oh, by the way, it needs to be bigger, so it's that, and where does it end? That's just my concern overall with it. I would like to say maybe if we could have it comparable to what the Ford sign is, because that is a little bit larger than what we have.
But I think this is comparable.
No, it's bigger. It's bigger than.
No, let me tell you why it's comparable.
Okay.
From a practical perspective, the Ford sign is at the 10-foot setback. This is a 120-something foot setback. I am really concerned, especially after looking at the traffic pattern that they showed us, about the avoiding accidents, people, trying to get over there, waiting to the last minute. We've had this problem in past years on State Road 7, all right? If you look at the setbacks heading north on State Road 7, all of those businesses over there, you can hardly see those signs, all right? And a reality was we did have accidents happen because people try to. So for me, the presentation made it clear to me that this is more about creating a safe environment for our citizens who are going to be going there than comparable signs. But I think comparable, if you look at the Ford sign, that's sitting right out there, 10-foot setback. This setback changes everything for me, and I think it makes sense what they're proposing, so.
I think what you're saying, though, is perception. So your perception is something, Ford's perception is something else. Another car dealership's perception is something else.
It's facts. A
Well,
120-foot
but the other-
setback versus a 10-foot setback?
So the other part is when was the last time you did not use GPS to find something that told you your right turn is in 500 feet, your right turn's 100 feet, your right turn's now?
Yeah, how many times have
I
you
don't trust it all the
how
time.
many times have
GPS
you
is not
overrun-
as
That's awful.
Well, you overran your GPS and it said recomputing or recalculating.
Then you recompute.
And, or conversely, how many times have they told you your street was 20 feet behind you and you're
Right.
just annoyed at the GPS?
Well,
Good, Jeff.
yeah, without getting into war stories about GPS and taking you across canals and things like that, the idea of GPS guiding you and those signs being your last piece of information that you need when you're in search of is the way
Connect the dots.
I
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
my navigation these days. So,
Yeah, and I would like to add one more thing. CarMax does pull from a wide area. So a lot of the customers that come to the store,
They're not familiar with the area.
not familiar with the area. They've never been here. So coming over the flyover to be
you're
able
getting
to
the raw
identify and safely move over, we have identified, and it's all a function of the letter height. That's the minimum letter height that we need to
Okay.
get the distance.
I understand the comparison between the letter height versus the signage versus, yes. So it's comparable to that.
So in summary, I think you do have three options, and any one of those would be acceptable to us. Brad's suggestion is a very good one because it gives you more elements, so it's more pleasing to the eye. We can open it up and make it more open air, or we can do a T formation. So it really is at, whatever you
I think the
prefer.
last suggestion you made about was raising the brakes. to-
That's the one I
To be
like.
more, I think that would be more aesthetically pleasing. So you okay with that?
That was the best I heard,
You
was
okay
what
with that?
Bradford's suggestion.
You okay with that?
Suggestion, yeah.
But then that's
Are you
keeping
okay
the
with that?
square footage, what it is, what
It'll
the
be what they're
variance that,
presenting, yeah.
the
Yes, ma'am.
variance that they're asking for now, which then, okay.
So, you okay with that? All right, so we got 4 that are okay with that. Okay, so that's where we are.
Let's break it
All right.
up. Can we
Want to go each by?
Yes.
We're gonna go to the next one now, yeah.
No, I'm saying, can we break it up and vote
One by one.
Yeah.
You wanna go one by
A, B,
one?
and C?
Okay.
And we
If
can
the-
combine A and B.
if there are no
So
fur-
letter height and the sign size, I can understand, yeah.
All right, so we're gonna vote on A now?
We can do,
Yeah, I'll-
yes, because A and B is.
Okay.
the
If
sign.
there are no further comments from council, then I'm looking for a motion that illustrates what was suggested by Bradford about raising the brick area.
I'll make a motion to approve the variance on the sign as proposed by Bradford, raising the base, and in addition, also increasing the letter size. Those two were the ones that were together, right, Bradford?
That's correct. Yes, sir.
second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay. Diane, please let the record show that agenda item R1, sign B in height of letters, sign A, I'm sorry, in height of letters was approved by council 4-1. Okay. Now we're to sign B. All right. Comments? You want additional information from the applicant? Or are you okay with what's being proposed for sign B?
I'm okay with that.
You? Yeah? Look for a motion then.
I make a motion to approve sign B as proposed.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We have no opposed. Diane, please let the record show that agenda item R1, sign variance request for sign B was approved 5-0. Okay, that brings us to sign C, and that was recommended for approval by staff. Any comments, concerns? If not, I'll look for a motion.
I make a motion to approve sign C as proposed.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have no opposed. Diane, please let the record show that agenda item R1, sign B variance request, sign C variance request. A, B, C, I'm getting mixed up with the letter. Sign C variance request. Jeff, was approved 5-0. All right? So thank you and good luck. And what's your timeline for opening your doors?
I don't want to give an official date, but
No, this-
summer,
somewhere
fall
next
of next
summer?
year. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we're
there's no
looking to
hurricanes.
start construction this fall, so
Okay, we will look forward
we're
to
really
it.
excited. Thank you.
Yeah, good
Welcome to
luck.
the village. Thank you. Okay. Tonight is night of variances.
Yes, it is.
We now,
We fixed our sign code, we redid our sign code, I thought this is what we're gonna avoid.
What you get for thinking?
no, this is, you know what this is? This is the car corridor, the car dealer corridor. All right? So, all right, so now we're gonna shift gears from cars to developments.
You got the right guy, though.
All right. Agenda item R2 is a public hearing to consider variance application 18-107. An applicant by Urban Design Kilday Studios in approval of variance order VC 19-03 to allow a variance to section 26-80 sub 2B to permit a minimum lot width of 45 feet where the village code requires 55 feet for approximately 33.75 acre parcel of land located on the south side of Southern Boulevard, approximately 0.27 miles west of State Road 7.
Great, thank you, Mayor. As you stated, the applicant is requesting a variance from Village Code, Section 2682B, patio homes, in order to permit a minimum lot width of 45 feet, where Village Code requires a lot width of 55 feet within the single-family residential RS3 zoning district. The applicant, through an accompanying application on this agenda, is requesting a site plan approval for 102 patio homes. And these units are located in Pod 4 and shown here on this slide.
Mayor, we do need swearing
I'm
in
sorry, we didn't do the swearing in. Go ahead.
before he.
Yeah.
Everything I
really
said
just-
was the
yeah,
truth.
So,
You won't have to repeat it, but
now, so for
for all of
item-
the related
items
items.
2 through 5 are all the same applicant, and with your permission, I can swear
Please
in.
do. Yes, sir.
So for items 2 through 5, if you're going to be speaking to the village council, if you'll please, thank you. Do each of you swear or affirm under penalties of perjury that your testimony to the village council will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. And then back to council for ex parte disclosures on all of the items 2 through 5.
Staff.
Okay, then thank you. We can now proceed.
Okay, thanks, Keith. I'm sorry.
Okay, so the next few slides that I'm going to be going through pertain to the next variances. And so when we get to those variances, I'm just going to click through the slides, but I'll read through it, this application. Village Code Section 2632F7 allows Village Council to grant variance to the zoning code when special conditions and circumstances exist which are not applicable to other lands. Special conditions do not result from the actions of the applicant, will not confer on the applicant special privileges that are denied to other lands. Literal interpretation of the code would deprive the applicant of the rights enjoyed by other lands. Minimum variance will make possible the reasonable use of the property. Harmony with the general intent and purpose of this division will not be injurious to the area involved or otherwise be detrimental to the public welfare. The applicant contends that the proposed 3.02 units per acre is well below the allowed density for this zoning district, and due to the encumbrances of the Florida Power and Light easement to the north, there is limited portion of the site area that can be used for development. The applicant goes on to state within their justification statement that this particular variance has been requested to be more in line with the patio home section of the code. The patio home section of the code allows lots to be a minimum of 40 feet in width in several other residential zoning districts. Although there are other residential districts that permit patio homes, development at 40 feet, the RMU, RV6, and RT8, the village specifically requested that the applicant propose RS3 zoning for this pod, and so they must follow the RS3 zoning regulations. There are several neighborhoods in the village that have lots with 45 feet widths and 50 feet widths, including the adjacent residential neighborhood Victoria Groves. Staff has not supported this variance request because staff believes that no special conditions or circumstances exist which are not applicable to other lands. This condition is a result from the actions of the applicant. Literal interpretation of the code does not deprive the applicant the rights enjoyed by other lands of the same zoning district. And this is not the minimum variance necessary to allow the reasonable use of the property. The Planning and Zoning considered this application on June 25th, 2019, and recommended approval by a vote of 4-1 with Ray Nazareth dissenting. And staff is recommending denial of this application. And I'll turn the floor back over to you, Mayor. Thank you.
Can you go back to that
Yes, sir.
graph yet? What is this? What are you showing us here? I'm not clear.
This is just showing the lots with the 45-foot widths, and the corner lot there is, I believe there's 3 of them that have 60-foot wide lots.
Where is this?
This is within the development.
This is what's there now, or what they're proposing?
No, this is what they're proposing. That's correct. And
they're
this
proposing-
The
right,
site plan is last.
right. So this is the overall site plan, giving you an idea, and these lots occur within
Okay.
the development.
But for the site plan that's being presented to be valid, these variances will have to first be
Correct.
approved. If they don't get approved, then it makes the site plan
There's
back
no
to the drawing board.
reason moving forward.
Okay, I just wanted to make that clear then. Okay. And the P and Z approved it 4-1.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. You finished?
Yes, sir. Yes, I'm done.
All right, I do not have any comment cards for agenda item R2, but if anyone, hold on. If anyone here would like to comment on this agenda item, now would be the time. Seeing none, I'm closing public comment for agenda item R2. And, no, I'm not going to close public comment. I'm going to let the applicant speak. I'm so used to you telling me you don't want to say anything. Now you've got me conditioned. I'm sure you want to say something this evening, right? Okay. Public comment is still open.
Well, thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Allie Palmer with Urban Design Kildare Studios, here on behalf of the applicant, TLH of multiple entities. Brian Tuttle, who is here to answer any questions as well. I'm going to skip all this because I know you guys know where this master plan is. So just to give you a little bit more information on where Pod 4 is, I know you're going to see the site plan later, but I feel context might help you all. So we are on the very southern part of the master plan for Tuttle Royale. The apartments known as Pod 2 that are currently under review are to the north. The charter school currently under review is just to the northeast. The public park proposed as part of the master plan is directly to the east of the site, and that was the one you just saw as the future land use amendment to open space. And then Victoria Groves, the existing single-family residentials to the south. As I'm sure some of you remember, this property was annexed back in 2014. We've gone through multiple land use map amendments, one in 2015, and then the remainder of the property, almost 5 acres, in 2019, earlier this year. We now have single-family land use, which in the comprehensive plan allows up to 5 dwelling units per the acre. However, during that process, we received concurrency approval for 106 single-family dwelling units, or 3.14 dwelling units to the acre, so significantly under what's permitted as part of the single-family land use in the village. We also received rezonings earlier this year to RS3, as Bradford had mentioned, and that also went to the April 2019 hearing that we were here before you on.
The rezoning effort was because to take it out of unincorporated zoning, to move it to village zoning?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Sure. Okay.
Yes, so the land was originally unincorporated, and then once the land was annexed, it had to be modified. Okay, so tonight we are before you with 3 variances, and then of course the site plan approval. We're going to go through the variances first, as you are aware. We have a variance from the RS3 district, the patio home district, and the landscape section of the code. One thing that I wanted to point out before moving through all these variances, and something to keep in mind as you're processing this information, is the land area of this property is encumbered by 11.34 acres of an FP&L easement, 34% of the property, leaving 22.41 acres developable, or 66% of the property.
Are those wires overhead?
Transmission wires, correct.
They're already, all the poles?
I'm sorry?
That's already in place, the FPL wires?
They're there. Yeah, they exist.
Okay.
Okay, so the first variance before you, as Bradford had run through, is for the RS3 lot width provision. We are requesting a 45-foot lot width in the RS3 single-family code. Also, as Bradford mentioned, we had originally provided an RT8 zoning request for 274 townhomes. We then came down to the single-family and came in with 106 single-family homes. Once it actually got site planned, we ended up with 102 single-family homes, and that's where we are today with RS3. However, that does require a variance to the lot width because RS3 has a special, you can say, provision that does not allow the patio home section of the code to be utilized as it is in other zoning districts of the village. So the other zoning districts within the village that permit 45-foot wide patio homes, and actually less than that, it can go down to 40 feet, are RMU, which is Victoria Groves to the south, directly adjacent to this project, and they do indeed have 45-foot wide lots in that community. Nautical Lakes, which is a RT8 zone district, Madison Green, which is a PUD, and also the RV6 district in the village does permit a 45-foot lot wide patio home as well.
You're saying they have homes built to that spec already?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And I know I already went over the density changes, but in short, if we were to construct the property with a 55-foot lot home under the RS3, we would have a lot yield of 86 homes versus the 168 that 5 dwelling units would allow. And obviously, we're not even proposing that. We're only proposing 102. So it's quite a drop. And it's also 2.5 dwelling units to the acre, which is essentially half of what the RS3 density permits.
Okay, let me sure. Could go back to that?
Yeah. Sorry.
You're saying that you could build 106 units based on the zoning approval?
We have concurrency, Palm Beach County's traffic concurrency for 106 units.
Okay, but you're only going to build 102.
Correct.
But if you were forced to build 50-foot lot width, you could only do 86.
Correct.
Okay.
And Bradford has assisted me with my presentation, as always. Thank you. We would need 100 lots to be a planned unit development, which we are asking a special exception for. So the 86 lots would not get us to that.
Before you below that. That's really what I wanted to hear. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Could you restate what you just said about 100?
100 lots are required to do a PUD in the village code, which is part of our request, as part of our site plan request.
Okay.
So, hardship. I'm not going to go through each of the variance criteria because I think Bradford did a good job at outlining those, but in short, in summary, the 45-foot lots are permitted and have been approved in the village in other zoning districts, including immediately to the south of this particular pod in Victoria Groves. The applicant was asked to change the zoning from RT8 to RS3 by the village. The applicant agreed before site planning with the understanding that we could go up to 106 lots. However, the RS3 would actually allow up to 168. The FP&L easement encroachment severely restricts the site plan, requiring a 45-foot wide lot for a reasonable yield of 102 units. So in other words, with all this said, at the end of the day, when we went to actually site plan it, because of the FP&L easement, we only got 102 lots, and that's based with the 45-foot lot variance that we're requesting. Okay. So that concludes my presentation on the RS3 variance.
Is that it? Brian Tuttle. I want to reiterate a couple things that were said here. First one is we could have come in with the RT8 with this site plan and not needed half these variances. But we didn't do that in a negotiation with staff to prove to the neighbors at Black Diamond? Victoria Groves, that we weren't going to do townhomes.
That's his next project.
So when we made that negotiation, they said, look, we don't want you to do the RT8. That way we can meet with them and say that guarantees we can't do townhomes. Unbeknownst to us, we needed 1 or 2 more variances when we made that negotiation.
So that's one of the reasons we have the three variances here. And originally I wanted townhomes, I'm going to be honest, but didn't work out. Now we have this under contract with Toll Brothers. And as you know, Toll is a luxury builder. And it, to be honest, took a lot of work to get them convinced that this was going to be a very, very luxurious community, but they're under contract and they are excited about doing it. And they have a special product that they want to do just on these 45-foot lots. And they're very, very excited about it. So I just wanted to reiterate those two things, that if we had a bunch more pre-site when we made the negotiation 2 years ago about all these variances, we would have covered our bases better, but we didn't know we needed the 3 versus, I think we still would have needed 1 if we came in with the RN8. But I think that the other issue that you're going to be concerned about is open space. I want you to understand that it's right next to 34 acres that we're going to have pass through, and it's right next to a 10-acre park, and it's right next to a 40-acre lifestyle center. So, there's a tremendous amount of recreational areas. So the loss of a few feet in the front yard is way offset by all the other amenities that we're throwing in there. Thank you.
Okay. You want to add anything else, Prophet? No? Okay. You finished your presentation? Okay. I still have no comment cards on agenda item R2. So, at this time, if anyone would like to comment, now would be the time. Seeing none, I now will close public comment then on this agenda item and open up for questions from council. Good. Okay.
So it was mentioned that you had talked with representatives from Victoria Groves. What is their position on this proposed site plan right now?
Excuse me. Okay, thank you. I have been meeting with Victoria Groves for nearly 2 years now with their HOA board representatives. They have seen the site plan that has been submitted and certified by staff, and they are in, as far as I've been told by them, they are in support of the plan. They're very happy that it ended up being single family and not townhomes. And they're very appreciative that we worked with them through the process and came up with this use and the layout. And they're also happy to hear that Toll is interested in the property as well.
Okay, well, thank you. I did have the opportunity to drive through Victoria Groves and the adjacent property, and some of their properties there are smaller than 45, and some larger. But I could see, from a reasonable point of view anyway, why they would find the single-family smaller lot acceptable to them, because that's what they're living on at this point, at least in that one area, which is immediately adjacent, I think, to the area you're proposing to develop. So, okay, thank you.
Richard?
It's funny, I had the same idea as Jeff, and actually probably went through the same neighborhood. And one of the things that struck me is it was really well maintained and it looked really good. But one thing that also stuck out to me is this wasn't a situation where they were all 45-foot houses. There was like intermingling, which to me is really what made it much more aesthetically pleasing and didn't seem like everyone was on top of each other or crushed in. So my thought on this was, I think if it's needed to be done, I was just wondering if it'd be possible to have 20% 50, which is still a variance, but it's not that much of a difference, and I think it would help give not everything the uniform feel, because you can really tell in some of the ones that were the 45s as opposed to the ones that weren't and that were a little bigger. And I don't think 50 is that much of a huge increase from what's being requested, and it's not too much of a huge decrease from what the code is. So it's kind of like splitting the baby and not having every single place be uniform, or allowing everything to be uniform. It's just my thought on it. Any thoughts from you guys?
You want to comment on that specifically?
Yes.
Okay.
One, how many units are in Victoria Groves?
It's a mix.
It's like 3 or 4. It's like 300 units. And when you have a community that size, you can have different things. The issue I'll run into is when I go to Toll and tell them that 20% of lots are going to be different, they're going to say, oh my God, I got to have a different product now because the lot size is different. And they start a bunch of whining about the different having multiple products. Let's say they're going to have 8 models now. So if you give them a different lot size, then they're going to say, we got to go out and redesign and do different lot sizes and stuff like that. And it, generally, 100 lots is, and I think your PUD thing is geared around 100 lots. And I don't know, I can tell you that they're very happy with the way it is. And if we go back to them and tell them 20% of lots are going to be different, I don't know if they're going to lose faith or not want to do it or whatever. But I know they want to do it now. And I know that, in my opinion, maybe you guys don't, they're a step above everyone else. So the fact that we get them in here is what, to me, is the most important. I can make a commitment, and I don't think it's how we could do it, but I can make a commitment. But if they don't close, I'll come back and change it back to that. But I hate to rock the boat with them, to be blunt.
Do you know what the variable of square foot size of the homes are going to be?
I know in the there's a lot coverage ratio, right? And I know they're going to be maxing it out. I know that, and I know they're going to have 2 stories, and I know they're excited about the deal. Is all I can tell you is they're chomping at the bit. And the good news for them is they don't have to wait for Erica Boulevard to be built all the way to 441. All they got to do is build that leg,
Right.
because there's enough traffic to cover them from the original approvals, so they can get started literally within months.
Right, and well, on a further comment along the line, as I said, going through Victoria Groves, now I didn't go through all the ones that had the 45, but do we have, maybe Bradford would know, do we have any community that has 45 and it can all be 45s? Because I would think that would be less appealing to residents, that every single place is, to me, that would feel more cramped in and on top of each other than, okay, you've got one and a couple places that are 50 or above. Because, not every, I understand when you develop something, you're not going to have every single lot being the same exact size. You're going to have some that have to be bigger just because of the way to design it.
I did not analyze these neighborhoods to that extent.
Okay.
But I can tell you that it would be difficult to have all of them at 45 feet in width. My thought is I don't think that there are that are this dominated by 45 width lots.
Thank you.
So I don't know the actual measurement of the lot sizes in Madison Green. There are 2 villages at the southern end of Madison Green that are 0 lot line, and they are the same for the most part. And it does give a different look than a variety to the neighborhood. It does change it, and that was, one of the things that, as Richard said, I also noticed as we drove through, or I drove through the neighborhood. I think I understand not rocking a boat. I get it. Not trying to make this more difficult than it needs to be. But one of the important things I think is to maintain at least a 100-unit pod development. I think that has particular significance, does it not?
We have heard from industry that there is a 100-unit threshold to make homeowners associations viable during downturns where you have enough, at that point in time, you have enough, you typically have enough individuals there to keep that HOA afloat and not become such a cost burden where everybody suffers. So yes, the 100 is there's an industry thought that the 100 does make HOAs much more viable.
But it's also the PUD.
Yes, sir.
you know.
It is a PUD
So that's
requirement.
what you were
Now,
pointing at.
Right. and-
there's, go ahead.
And I was just going to say, you know, we live in Walden, and Walden has 98 homes.
Right.
I can tell you with the extreme experience that we all went through in 2008 and so forth, 100 really is a very appealing number. We were struggling for the first couple of years with vacant homes, homes that were not only in foreclosure, but homes that also were actually abandoned. And that puts a heck of a burden on the HOA and the responsibility to maintain the neighborhoods, not just to be code compliant, but also to keep the value of the homes up so you don't find yourself on a slippery slope. That's an important consideration. With that thought in mind, though, is there not a way that you could actually get a mix and stay at the 100 homes?
If I understand the question correctly, to maintain the 100 homes, but then try to get some variety in the widths. I have, after speaking with Councilman Hamera and Council Member Valentes, what I came up with is what I thought was a very good, or a good solution to this, which is, if you look on your screen here, you will see on the south side of this property a row of homes on the south side of that linear long road, okay? So keep in mind where that is located within the development, because I've got a slide that kind of keys into that area a little bit more. And that's this slide here. So this area here and these number of lots are what we're speaking of. So my thought was, in this linear area, you remove 2 lots. Those 2 lots are 45 feet in width. So that would allow you to, for each one of those lots, add 5 feet to 9 lots. So altogether, you're able to add 5 feet to 18 lots along this roadway. So that Richard's point was he wanted to achieve 20%, which is 20 lots. So this gets you to 18. You have 3 corner lots at 60, so this is 20% plus 1. That would be 55 feet in width or greater. And all you're doing is removing a lot, maybe from one end, and then everything just gets.
You're saying remove 1 lot?
2 lots.
2 lots. So that takes the number from 102 units to 100
100.
units? Really?
And you get a mix.
You're getting then the primary of the 55 or primarily 50 plus?
You will be 45 and then 50 feet in width plus, because you have the 3 that are 60.
Right.
So you'll have 18 at the 50, and then you'll have 3 at the 60.
Yeah, so that's
And there's not a whole lot of reconfiguration of the site that needs to occur along here, which is, look, that's just the way that it worked out.
okay. Thank you. I like that.
It's a really good recommendation.
You like that, huh?
I do.
How about you?
Yep.
You? You made the recommendation.
Well, I just thought, having variation in one that's not too short from what the requirement is and
No,
not too much more
That's interesting.
than what's being requested, and if it can
It keeps us
fit
away-
and it's doable.
Yeah, but the thing I like about it doesn't bump up against the PUD issue, which was significant. Selena, what are your thoughts?
As I'm sitting here, I'm kind of thinking, I feel like I'm on Shark Tank, so I can tell you is that it's a beautiful property. You guys have done an amazing job. I've toured it several times. I know Toll's going to make it look beautiful. I love the bridge and the inlay and the palms and the artistic aspect of it. But my voting on this particular is going to be the same as it is with when you increase density. We've talked about it up to this point too, and that's just the way I feel about it. Is that, but it's something that we've gone through with all the pods as well. More density you want, and I keep trying to say is that the residents that I've spoken to want it less dense. So,
See, but my thought on the density was we're still, given, and that's why I think there's a special circumstances and there's a need for a variation or a justification for it, which is it could be 5, I think, per unit, and what we're looking at is 3. So it's still well under the the single-family zoning, even though, again, I would have rather preferred 55 that the council agreed to a while ago, but if this is what needs to happen to make it work, I'd rather see it work than not. And, 3 as opposed to 5 is less, and you've got the easement there. So that's why, but to me, what made the thing work is because I just got a bad vision of everything being so close together, and 45 feet homes was, even when they had 4 or 5 of them in a row, you'd have different ones, and it didn't all just feel so confined. And that's just what made me think maybe get a percentage that is at least 50.
All right, just so I'm clear, so Richard and Jeff and Jan, you're in favor of reducing it by 2 units and creating 19 50-foot lots?
Well, my
18 50-foot lots?
18 50-foot lots.
Okay. And leaving the total at 100 units?
No, I don't, this is a variance. Can we do that? I was just proposing 20%.
Well, I'm saying, he's got you.
Right.
Close.
I just want to make sure we're all on the same page.
A safe way to do it, because I just whispered to him that I hope his math is right, that is to...
Well, his math is on record. His math is on record, so...
245 feet.
Not a good math guy.
Your math
That's
is
90.
right.
Divided by 9 is 10.
So I would suggest that you, maybe, I would ask that you approve it at 100 lots, with as many 50 lots that can be fit, with the understanding that the maximum number of lots you get is 100 lots.
100 lots.
I'll convince Toll
To make
that
that
2
work.
lots does not make a
Okay.
difference.
You okay with that?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You?
I can work with that.
You're still not, okay. All right, so, all right.
She doesn't like the Cleveland Browns is the problem.
Oh, the Cleveland Browns are going to be great this year.
People like the Browns? What?
They're in for a big year. A lot of expectations.
And I don't want to vary too much here.
Okay. All right, so you're saying that if that were approved, that would be acceptable to you, right? Okay, there are no further comments, then I'd look for a motion on the proposal that's on the table.
How would you word this, Keith? Or if I can get some guidance.
Motion would be to grant the variance with the condition that
The site plan.
the site plan is changed to go to 100 lots, and with the land that you're gaining from removing the 2 lots, you would make as many of the remaining lots 50 feet
Yes.
That sounds,
without going below the 100 lot
right.
threshold.
So moved.
All right, but he can't make the motion. I need one of you to make a motion.
So I would say Mr. Herrera made the motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay, Diane, please let the record show that agenda item R2 was approved 4-1. Okay. Now, having made that modification and approval, does that change anything on item 3 and 4?
The only thing that it does is it lessens the number of lots that will be affected with the variances for the 4,500 square feet and the green space or landscaped areas requirement for the front yards.
All right, let me read it into record first.
As we go through it.
Okay. All right. Agenda item R3 is a public hearing to consider variance application 18-123, an application by Urban Design Kilday Studios, and approval of variance order VC 19-04 to allow a variance to section 26-63 sub A minimum lot dimensions to allow for 4,500 square foot lots where village code requires 5,000 square feet, and a variance from section 26-63 sub B, minimum setbacks to allow for a 15-foot setback corner yard setback where village code requires 20 feet for a side corner yard setback on approximately 33.75 acre parcel of land located on the south side of Southern Boulevard, approximately 0.27 miles west of State Road 7. Everybody's been sworn in, so Bradford.
Great. Thank you again, Mayor. As you stated, that the applicant is requesting a variance to permit a minimum lot area of 4,500 square feet, where village code requires a lot area of 5,000 square feet, and variance to allow for a minimum setback of 15 feet for a side corner yard setback, where the village code requires 20 feet. Again, the applicant is, this is part of a Pod 4 request. Here we've gone over these variance criteria. Scroll ahead here. The applicant contends that the proposed 3.02 units per acre is well below the allowed density for this zoning district. And due to the encumbrance of the Florida Power and Light easement to the north, there is limited portion of the site area that can be used for development. The applicant goes on to state within their justification statement that in order to design a site plan can achieve 101 lots at 3.02 dwelling units per acre. The lots had to be smaller in size than permitted by the Patio Homes Code. It is important to note that only 8 of the 102 lots will be less than 5,000 square feet. In the same respect to the setback for these lots, had to be reduced from the patio home requirement side corner setback in order to provide a product near to equivalent size of the product found in single-family neighborhoods and the surrounding neighbors. Village staff is not supportive of this variance, same reasons as stated in the previous variance request. The Planning and Zoning Commission considered application 18123 at their June 25th, 2019 meeting and recommended approval by a vote of 4-1. Staff is recommending denial of this application. And this slide here illustrates this request. Now, it's the lot size variance is pretty straightforward. The setback variance for the corner lots, if you can see where my cursor is at, it would be the safe site triangle cuts into these corner lots, which reduces the side yard setback and from this corner to the property line. And with that being said, Mayor, I'll turn the floor over to you and answer any questions the council may have.
Okay. The applicant like to make any comments?
I won't make this long. I'll just bring up my graphic in case you guys want to see anything in more detail here. Okay, so as Bradford mentioned, the two variances that are part of the patio home section are lot area and side corner yard setback. Also, as he mentioned, obviously these only affect a small amount of lots in the neighborhood and probably even less now that we made the change previously. And I can't give you that exact number, but I should have brought my CAD person with me, right? I mean, gosh. So anyhow, this just depicts a graphic of the 4,500 square foot minimum lot. This was previously only 8 lots in the entire neighborhood that were a minimum of 100 feet deep and 45 feet wide. And then also the 15-foot side setback, it appears at the corner. And also we have one thing that I didn't see from Bradford's slide is for the side loading garage type unit. We're assuming that the developer is going to have something to offer in that respect. And if they did, we were just requesting to be able to have that corner setback as well on the side, not just in the site triangle, to allow for that turn into a driveway. But because the only place that unit could be is really on that corner lot.
I'm sorry, you're saying to turn it into a driveway, a side garage?
Correct. So they'll need that wider turning
They need-
radius.
yeah.
And so we asked for that extra 5
They would need
feet
it to
on
be
those.
deeper too, right?
I'm sorry?
They would need it to be deeper.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So these would be just the 6 corner lots that we had. And I think I have those numbers, which again may not be right anymore, on this slide for you, if you have any questions.
That's it? Okay. I do not have any comment cards on agenda item R3. But if anyone would like to comment at this time, now would be the time. Okay, seeing none, then I'm going to close public comment on agenda item R3 and open up for comment from
Yeah, I was going to ask Ally if you could bring out your calculator, but then when you started looking at them, these are just from the corner lots are the issues, and then when we took away those 2 lots, they're going away. They're going for the interior lot size, not the corner. It wouldn't affect the corner lot size. That we've removed those 2. That's why. Okay, thanks.
I just got a question. Now that we already approved the first variance, which says they're going to remove 2 units and have some number of units that would be 50-foot lots, is it practical then to assume if it's a 50-foot pad, that it should be on a larger lot? Because if that's true, then we're saying maybe the path is the units that are on 50-foot, they're 50-foot wide on 5,000-foot lots, and the units that are 45-foot wide on 4,500-foot lots. It's a question I'm asking.
To answer that question, it doesn't appear as though when we widened the lots along that one linear row, because the depth was 115 feet, so 45 times 115. Anyway, it doesn't affect.
You can take out take out the cell phone. It's got a calculator on it.
But I believe that the ones that are 45 by 100 are commingled within like the cul-de-sac areas.
Right. Here's another one way to say it, is where we spread the 90 feet out, we're taking 2 lots out, so we have 90 feet. Where we spread that out will determine whether or not these lots even need the variance anymore.
Right.
And so if we put them on the long straightaway, then these lots would still need it. And we think, in talking to Bradford, we think that's better because these lots are already oversized. They're already 60-foot lots. It's just the corners cut.
Right.
So we think it's better to put that 5 feet along that long straightaway to give you some variance in those lots.
So that means you don't need the 15-foot variance.
No, it means we do.
You do need it.
Yeah, we're going to leave these lots, they're 60 feet.
All right, so you're saying in spite of what we approved for item R1, R2, you still want to go with the 4,500 square foot lot size?
Maybe let me try. Let's see here.
Well, my understanding is you're still going to have ones that are 45 feet wide, and we're still going to want this to apply to those lots. Is that the correct understanding? Is that's why we need this variance, because we still are going to go forward with some lots that are 4,500 or 45 that are going to need this 4,500, right? Okay.
That's a great way to say it. There's still going to be 4,500 square foot lots.
Yeah, got it. So what are we saying?
So you just go.
The request stands as is?
Yes, sir.
There's no modification to the request? That's what we're saying?
Okay.
All right, so deal with the request as stated.
Right.
You're
I'll
still
make
on. Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve variance application, that's not helping. I'd make a motion to approve variance application 18-107. No, wait, that's the wrong one. 123.
Or better known as agenda item R3.
R3. That's simpler.
More easily said.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay, we have 1 opposed. Diane, please let the record show that agenda item R3 was approved 4-1.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Moving right along. Agenda item R2 is also a public hearing to consider variance application 18-122, an application by Urban Design Kilday Studios, an approval of variance order VC 19-05 to allow a variance to section 23-18 sub B sub 3B2 to permit a minimum of 625 square feet of landscaped area in the front yard, where the village code requires that the lesser of 1,000 square feet or 75% of the front yard, or 844 square feet, be landscaped for an approximate 33.75 acre parcel of land located on the south side of Southern Boulevard, approximately 0.27 miles west of State Road 7. Explain this one.
Okay.
Shorter front yards.
Right.
1,000 or less or whatever. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Brad. Go ahead.
We'll get caught up in
The applicant is requesting a variance in order to permit a minimum of 625 square feet of landscape area in the front yard, where the village code requires that lesser of 1,000 square feet or 75% of the front yard, which in these cases is 844 square feet, be landscaped. The applicant through an, okay, I can skip that right along. And again, here are the conditions of granting variances. The applicant contends that the proposed 3.02 units per acre is well below the allowed density for the zoning district due to the encumbrances, again, of the Fuller Power and Lights. The applicant goes on to state within the justification statement that the smallest lot proposed could have a front yard area dimension of 45 feet by 25 feet for a total of 1,125 square feet in area. The code requires that a minimum of 1,000, again, with a 20-foot wide driveway, the 45-foot lot will only have approximately 625 square feet of green space in the front yard if the home sits right at the 25-foot yard setback, requiring a variance of 219 square feet on the smallest lot. Staff is not in support of this variance. With this, we don't feel as though it meets the variance criteria as stated in the previous variance requests. Planning and Zoning Commission considered this application on June 25th, 2019, and recommended approval by a vote of 4-1, and staff is recommending denial of this application. And I'll turn the floor back over to you, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. Does the applicant want to comment?
Okay, so as Bradford mentioned, we're proposing a variance to the landscape area in the front yard for 625 square feet. This is just for the 6 smallest lots in the community. We're not sure if it still will be 6, but it will be for a very small amount of lots. All the materials that are required in the front yards will still be there. All the tree requirement, the palm requirement, the shrubs and all that. It's just literally the sod that will really be reduced in the front yard, less area to irrigate, let's put it that way. And this is directly related to the fact that the lots are 45 feet wide. Now, something to note, I say 96 here, that might change, it might go up, but 96 lots of the 102 will have larger front yards than the 625. Also, the ones that do have the 625 square feet, highly unlikely that it will actually be 625 square feet, because we came up with this calculation based on a house that has absolutely no fenestration and that sits on a 25-foot line like a block in the sand. And so obviously we know that your staff and through the architectural review process that will not happen. So there will be a larger landscaped area than that, highly likely. We just wanted to, of course, depict the worst case scenario. As in most cases, especially with a front-loading unit like this, garages are pushed forward. That will be over by the actual driveway, and then the rest of the house is typically pushed back. That's how you see most of these patio home type designs, and I would predict that you'll see something similar here. However, again, because we don't know what that design is going to be, we are requesting the worst case scenario for these up to 6 smallest lots in the community.
Which you now believe will be less than 6.
Which might be now less than 6, but
Okay.
unfortunately I can't give you that number at the exact moment.
Okay. I bet Stan can, but that's okay.
I'd be happy to answer any of the questions on this.
Okay. I don't have any comment cards on agenda item R3. R4.
Right.
But if anyone from public would like to comment, now would be the time. Okay, seeing none, I will close public comment for agenda item R4 and open up for comments from the members of council. Have no lights, no comments, I'll look for a motion.
I make a motion to approve regular agenda item number 4 because it'll be no more than 6 units at that. Thank you.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have no opposed. Diane, please let the record show that agenda item R4 was approved 5-0. Okay, agenda item R5 is also a public hearing to consider application 18-0085, an application by Urban Design Kilday Studios, and resolution number 19-17 confirming council action. The applicant is seeking site plan, special exception use, and landscape waiver approval for 102-unit single-family planned unit development PUD located on the south side of Southern Boulevard, approximately 0.727 miles west of State Road 7.
Okay.
Bradford, you're on.
Thank you. As you stated, and I'm not going to go over what you just stated, the site currently has several single-family homes on large tracts, and as part of the planned unit development it requests, the applicant is also seeking to reduce the required right-of-way width from the required 60 feet to 50 feet, which is pretty standard in our residential areas throughout the village. The site will also contain a 0.8-acre lake on site retention. In addition, the site plan provides a 13.88 acres of green and open space. Access to the site will be from Southern Boulevard via a new bridge over the C-51 canal and a future access to State Road 7 south of Lowe's. Pursuant to 2675-4G1 of Village Code, requirements for recreation space are 10 acres of recreation space for every 1,000 residents. Each dwelling unit generates 3 residents per Village Code. Thus, based on the proposed 102, or now these numbers are going to change. But based on the 102, and we'll go back and we'll tweak the code, the conditions of approval. The recreation obligation for this project is 3.06 acres. Section 2675H2 allows for a credit of private open space where up to 50% of the required recreation can be provided as private open space to the residents of the subdivision. The applicant is proposing to provide a total of 1.53 acres of private recreation on the site for a total of 50% of the project recreation obligation. The private recreation areas proposed will include a pool, multi-purpose sports court, playground, fitness trails, and picnic area. The applicant will also be dedicating 1.5 acres of land totaling 100% of the remaining 50% recreation obligation. The 1.5 acres will be part of Pot 8, which is intended to be the receiving area for the recreation obligations for Pots 2, 3, and 4. The proposed site plan meets the requirements of single-family residential zoning district as it pertains to parcel size, parcel width, setbacks, pervious area, and the landscape plan, apart from the reduction in the buffer width that occurs along the north property line to accommodate a fitness trail and pedestrian interconnectivity from the residents on the west side of the property to the east side where a lot of the recreation amenities, the pool, the clubhouse occur. And here is an illustration of where that occurs. Overall, the proposed site plan is in conformance with the village's requirements for single-family residential zoning district, with the exception of the variance that we have just approved. The Planning and Zoning Commission considered this application and voted to recommend approval by a vote of 5-0, and staff is recommending approval of this application. And I'll turn the floor back over to you, Mayor, to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Applicant want to make any comments?
Hi again. I will try to be quick. Just wanted to go over a couple things. Where am I? Okay, finally, the site plan, the fun stuff. So we are proposing 100 single-family units now, bless you. These are going to be market rate. There's no workforce or affordable housing proposed in this neighborhood, as you might have been able to tell from the way we've been describing the project this evening. It is also for a special exception, landscape waiver, and right-of-way waiver.
Can I ask you a question about market rate?
Sure.
For this particular development, which stands out is the significant percentage of land that's unusable because it's the FPL easement. How do you think that will have an impact on the market rate for these homes, being so closely nestled to those wires?
I don't think that I can speak to that, but I'm sure Brian would love to.
But you have to, yeah, that was a big, hard selling point. If you look at the site plan, there's only about 6 lots.
Yeah.
It's designed so that there's no lots looking at the FP&L, and that all the lots either look east or west or they look south. So originally, if you remember, this was it was a bigger, more expensive homes, and that we could not sell.
That wouldn't sell.
It wouldn't sell.
Okay.
Because nobody wants, but when you add the activity center and the smaller homes and all the other things to do, we think it'll be a big success. But yeah, power lines are tough. There's no way around that. And that's why the other site we're doing is apartments, because, it just, but I think this will do well, especially, and it backs up to single family home, it backs up to canals. And like I said, there's only a few lots there.
Okay, thank you. Wanted to get that on the record.
No problem. Okay, so just to put some of the descriptions that Bradford was going over onto a visual before you, the access to the community will be through Lofts Road, which is the north-south connector within the master plan, and that'll ultimately connect to the east-west connector, Erica Boulevard, which takes you to both State Road 7 and to Southern Boulevard. The lake. We also have the dry detention areas within the FP&L easement, which are actually for the overall project. We are also maintaining a 0.8 acre lake in the site. The internal road system will include all the code required, subdivision requirements of sidewalks, street trees, street lights, etc. We also have designed the frontage to include a gate access if the developer chooses to do so. The buffer surrounding the community, with the exception of the north, which I'll go over in a minute, as Bradford had done, all are meeting the code requirements. The south buffer is compatibility with the single family adjacent to the canal, and then the east and west buffers are 25 feet. Specifically, there's 25 feet along the public park to the east. The landscape buffer to the north does require the waiver. This is due to an encroachment with the FP&L easement and also the fitness trail that Bradford had mentioned. This is just a close-up of that. I thought it might be helpful for you all to look at. So the little green measurement is the overall 25 feet. The red strip is the easement overlap of FP&L. So you'll still have 25 feet of green. That 10 feet will be sod, but all the landscape materials that are required as part of that north 25-foot landscape buffer requirement will be within the 15 feet to the south of it. So same amount of landscape, it'll actually be closer to the residential home lots. So they might actually have a more dense landscape buffer as far as it appears from their backyards. Recreation. There's 2 components to the recreation on this site that is required as part of the code, in addition to the public dedication over in the public park. We have a 0.7 acre recreation center on the east side of the site with a pool, cabana, tot lot, multi-purpose sports court. Then on the west side of the site, we have a more passive park area, 0.8 acres with fitness trail, picnic areas, buffer trail. And then, as Bradford had also mentioned, if you follow the yellow dotted brick road, you have the fitness trail going from the passive park over on the west side of the community through the buffer and into the amenity area with the pool on the east side of the neighborhood. As you know, and I had mentioned, we received traffic concurrency as part of the land use and zoning, and I believe that concludes my presentation.
Okay.
To answer any questions.
All right. I do not have any comment cards on agenda item R5, but if anyone here would like to comment, now would be the time. I have the right one. Seeing none, I'm going to close public comment on agenda item R5. And Richard, you had your light on?
No, sorry.
Oh, okay. Well, if there are no comments from members on council, I'll look for a motion.
I make a motion to approve regular agenda item number 5.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have no opposed. Diane, please let the record show that agenda item R5 was approved. I just have one question. Now, we've approved, is there a condition that has to be included in this because there was a
What
slight
we did with
modification?
R2, yeah.
The slight modification in the reduction of the number of units.
All right.
The way that this will be handled is we have a process where we have a final site plan sign off.
Okay.
So as the site plan is going through the public hearing process, Planning and Zoning Commission and Village Council, if there are any changes to that site plan that you or they recommend, then that needs to be reflected on the final site plan sign off. And so whenever they go through, we will be looking for that.
All right, so you're going to be looking for them to come back to you with that,
Right.
with those modifications.
If you're more comfortable with the condition that they.
I'm comfortable with your
Okay,
process.
very good.
Okay.
So
You agree with that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Go ahead,
then
Cindy.
how does that affect them? Because I believe you said before when we were going over the first agenda item that you were going to go to Toll Brothers and find out if they're okay with the two less units on there. So if they come back and say no, do we start the process all over again?
No,
with
they come
that?
back and say, no, he finds some another partner.
I don't think you can,
I will make them an offer. They can't.
Oh, shit. I can't believe you went there, but
Been waiting
okay.
to use that.
Okay.
Well, there's a way to wrap up the evening.
Okay. Thank you. Are we done with all of your efforts? All right, thank you, and good luck.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, agenda item R6 is also a public hearing. This is for a second reading and adoption of ordinance number 902 and approval of application 17-0070. An applicant by Cutler and Herring. The applicant is seeking a rezoning of a parcel of land totaling approximately 5.55 acres from the townhouse residential zoning designation to the general commercial zoning district located on 1070 Okeechobee Boulevard. This is a quasi-judicial hearing.
I'll go ahead and swear in anybody who's going to be speaking on this one. We have, did each of you swear or affirm under penalties of perjury that your testimony to the village council will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
And coming back to council for ex parte disclosures on this item?
None.
Seeing
Okay.
none, I can read the title.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. This is Ordinance 902, Ordinance of the Village Council, Village of Royal Palm Beach, Florida, providing for the rezoning of certain real property within the corporate limits of the village, which property consists of one parcel of land comprising a total of 5.55 plus or minus acres, more or less, located at 10701 Okeechobee Boulevard, informally known as Lot 1 on the capstone at Royal Palm Plat, providing that this parcel of real property shall, which is more specifically described herein, shall be assigned the village zoning designation of CG General Commercial District, providing that the zoning map of the Village of Royal Palm Beach will be amended to reflect the proper designation for this parcel of real property, providing conflicts clause, severability clause, and effective date and for other purposes.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, in
This is
reviewing.
the second reading.
Yes, sir. In reviewing the proposed rezoning of the parcel of the general commercial zoning district, village staff considered compatibility with adjacent land uses, consistency with the village's comprehensive plan, in conformance with the general commercial zoning district development standards in section 2689. The local planning agency considered this application on April 23rd, 2019, and recommended approval by a vote of 5-0. Village council considered this application on first reading on June 20th, 2019, and recommended approval by a vote of 5-0. And staff is recommending approval of this application. And I'll turn the floor back over to you, Mayor. Thank you.
The applicant want to comment? You're satisfied with the presentation that was provided for the project? Okay. I do not have any comment cards submitted for agenda item R6, but if anyone would like to comment, now would be the time. Seeing none, I'm closing public comment on agenda item R6. Looking for comments from members of the council. If there are no comments, I'll look for a motion.
Make a motion to approve regular agenda item number 6.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have no opposed. Diane, please let the record show that agenda item R6 was approved 5-0. Agenda item, good luck. Agenda item R7 is also a public hearing for the second reading and adoption of ordinance number 991, amending chapter 8, elections of the Village Code of Ordinances to provide that the Village of Royal Palm Beach shall hold its next municipal election on March 17th, 2020, in conjunction with the presidential preference primary election. Who, Stan or Keith?
I'll take it,
Okay.
Mayor. This is second reading. You basically read the title and the agenda item summary, so I don't need to
You don't need to be,
rehash that again. You pretty much read it.
okay.
This is something that happens, we did it in 2016, we're now doing it again in 2020, so that
Okay.
our election coincides with the primary, because the supervisor's office can't turn the equipment around in 1 week.
Okay. I do not have any comment cards on agenda item R7, but if anyone would like to comment from the public, now would be the time. Seeing none, I'm closing public comment on agenda item R7. Open for comments from council. If there are no comments, I'll look for a motion.
Motion to approve regular agenda item number 7.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have no opposed. Diane, please let the record show that agenda item R7 was approved 5-0. And being no further business before the council this evening, thank you all. We stand adjourned.